guys. So we just finished episode 2, and hopefully you are moving right on to episode 3 with me. So we are on episode 3. Episode 3 is called Pack Mentality, and let's jump into the episode. Make sure that you are subscribing, liking, and sharing these episodes. Tell your friends about it. If you got friends who are Teen Wolf fans and you like my breakdowns, or you like watching me, or you just want to be around, boop. You just want to be around. Then subscribe. We can have some fun. Cabbage Patch. All right, I'm done. So we open up episode 3 with a lot of action and a lot of craziness. So in this dream sequence, we don't find out it's a dream sequence till the end of the episode, but in this dream sequence, we actually see Scott and Allison are like having fun. He's leading her into a bus, and like they're kissing and like, doing teenage shit. They like, what you do when you a teenager and you trying to get some time away. And now that you're an adult, you just do it whenever you want to. But in this dream sequence, everything is fine, and then everything is not fine. We see Scott actually try to attack Allison, and we see him like go after her. We also see her try and get off the bus, and she's not able to. And like we assume that he killed her. But we find out that this is a dream sequence because Scott is telling Styles what happened. We also find out that this couldn't have happened because Allison does show up to school after a small stint of Scott just spiraling. Like, I killed her. I know I killed her. I know it was a dream sequence, but I feel like I killed her. And she shows up and he's like, oh my God, you're not dead. Thank God. But of course, as we do find out that Allison is okay and Allison is fine, we also find out that that there was actually an attack, and the person who was actually attacked is taken to Beacon Hills. And at this moment, Scott is like, well, what if it wasn't a dream sequence? Maybe I just saw Allison, but I actually attacked this person who was on the bus for real. So at lunch, Scott and Styles are discussing things like they're getting out and, the bus driver and things like that. When Lydia and the rest of the lacrosse crew, which is like, why is Lydia hanging out with the lacrosse team? Like, I know her boyfriend is the lacrosse captain, but like, why you eating with them? It's just you and a bunch of lacrosse people. I can see if she was on the team, because at one point we did have a girl on the team, so I can see if she was on the team, but she just there. Anyway, so Lydia, Danny, a bunch of other people, and Jackson come sit down with Scott and Styles, basically to the point where, they're basically saying like, oh, you're one of us now. Like, your first line, you won a game, you're part of the team. This is basically Jackson saying, fuck it. I can't beat him, might as well join him, right? So Jackson joins them. Like, quite literally, they joined them at the lunch table. I think that's funny. I didn't even notice that, but I think that's a funny point. So while everybody is sitting and talking, we find out that the victim is Garrison Myers, whom Scott knows because he used to ride his bus when he used to go see his dad, which we find out that Scott and Scott's parents are divorced. So when Scott used to go see his dad, he used to take Mr. Myers' bus. So he actually knows who this guy is. He says that he's a nice guy and things like that. And he silently wonders, like, if I know him and he's such a good guy, why would I hurt him? So we move forward to Scott being at work. We're kind of moving through like Scott's day to day. And Scott is finally at work. But the sheriff shows up, which kind of freaks Scott out because once again, he's thinking that he mauled Mr. Myers. So he is freaked out when the sheriff shows up. But of course, Sheriff Stilinski is at the veterinarian clinic to get the canine looked at. That's why he's here. Like, if it's hoof prints in Central Park, it ain't a goddamn zebra, it's a horse. You know what I'm saying? So Sheriff Stilinski does ask Deaton what he thinks about these animal killings because, of course, he's a veterinarian, so he's the lead animal expert in the town. That's what I have to assume. When Sheriff Stilinski does ask Deaton about the wolf hairs on the body, Scott laments that he heard that wolves aren't native to California and they usually aren't here. But Deaton tells Scott, which is something that he learns, that wolves are highly migrational, which is something we actually see within the show. Wolves are highly migrational and they kind of go wherever there's food or wherever there's like a habitat for them, which makes sense. Deaton also tells Sheriff Stilinski and Scott that wolves, while not having like a short term memory, have a very extensive long term memory, which is something to make note of. So if you're taking notes, make note of that. So once again, we are moving through Scott's day. After Scott is at work, he goes to Melissa's job, Melissa being his mom and a nurse at Beacon Hills Memorial. And I just want to say that she is literally the only nurse in this fucking town. Like, it's so much shit that goes down. Like, at one point, like, in the show, Scott literally dies and she still has to go to work. Like, and she was pissed, but like, she is the only nurse or healthcare professional in this fucking town. Like, there are doctors, and of course, Peter has a nurse right now, but like, she is literally the only fucking nurse at Beacon Hills Memorial. She touches every fucking patient, and I don't even know if she's like lead nurse or anything like that. They don't specify like what her actual fucking status or actual title is. It's just, I mean, they could just call Beacon Hills Memorial Melissa McCall Memorial at this point. Like, that's how much she is integral to that fucking, like, infrastructure of a hospital. Everybody who done came through that motherfucker done been saved by Melissa McCall. And we ain't talk, like, she ain't even no fucking doctor, so she ain't even supposed to be saving no goddamn body. Like, well, she ain't supposed to be treating people like that, but Melissa does. Melissa absolutely does. So there's a thing. So I kind of got off on a tangent about Melissa, but Scott does bring Melissa food, and you know, he's like bringing her dinner because he's trying to butter her up. You ever like did something for your parents that you know they always need, like, and then you like, yeah, I'm finna ask your ass for something. And so yes, of course he does. He asks his mother, can he use the car? You know, later that week. So while Scott is at Beacon Hills Memorial, he also sees the room where Garrison Myers is. And of course, remember we talked about the fact that Scott does know Garrison or Mr. Myers. He used to ride his bus, so he steps into the room. And like, honestly, I think he was trying to see if maybe he remembered anything or if like Mr. Myers could tell him what happened. But I guess my whole thing is that if this man is able to tell you what happened, he's gonna be dead ass scared of you when you come in there. You mauled me, or at least you think you did. So like, if you did, he gonna be scared as fuck when you come in there. Like, it's just that fucking simple. But clearly, Scott does not think that shit through. So once Garrison does actually notice Scott, he literally goes into convulsions. He starts to fucking convulse and lose it. Melissa has to come in and actually like calm Mr. Garrison down. I mean, Mr. Myers down. So we actually are no longer we are actually no longer following Scott's day. We are actually at the Hale home where the sheriff has sent out a sheriff's deputy to basically see if the home is empty and make sure that no one is in there. But we see the sheriff deputy pull up with the K9 unit. And because it's a K9, Derek is in the shamble of a house. Like, the Hale house is so weird within the like series, because at some points the Hale house is like a whole house, and then at some points it's like missing a roof, like it looks like a house that caught on fire. But like, if you think about it, when at some point when Scott and Derek get to fighting, I think it's this episode or maybe next episode, when they get to fighting, there's a whole house. There's walls and shit in the house. But like, when you watch it like from the outside where this deputy pulls up, there's barely no fucking house there. But there is Derek basically in the window making the dog go crazy, like just sending signals, I guess, wolf signals to the dog, or what is it called? Chemtrails? Is it like I don't know if I'm using the right word. I'm gonna look that up too. But I think it's like he's sending like chemical trail signals to the dog in order for the dog to like freak out. And of course it does freak out, and it causes the sheriff deputy to lose his nerve. And so he basically leaves. He like, hey man, y'all send somebody else out here. Yeah, it was empty. Fuck them. And which I understand. Like, I am of the I am of the thinking that when animals freak out, it's one of those things like when black people see other black people run, we get the fuck on. Like, when animals start freaking out, I'd be like, what's going on? Let me get the fuck away from here. Like, it's just one of those things. Like, or like, oh, when I was in high school, our school had like school had lunch. Excuse me. Our school had food fights like all the fucking time. I mean, like that first ninth grade semester, I want to say we had a food fight almost every day. But it was so crazy because the cafeteria would like reach like this stale air. And like everybody would start looking around, and like at once niggas would start pushing chairs out the way and getting the fuck out of the way. Like I can literally say we had food fights almost every fucking day, and I did not get food on me because it was in the air. So I don't know if that's what Derek is doing, if he's like sending chemical like releases or chemical trails to this dog, and the dog is like freaking out, but that's basically what's happening. But we also saw this happen when Scott tried to feed the cats in the first episode. He like the cats went crazy. I just assumed that the cats went crazy because they could sense the dog in him, and not this situation, because a dog would definitely sense a wolf, but would it be that scared? I don't know. So after the deputy does leave, after Derek basically scares the deputy off, the deputy we see Scott walk up, and Scott is basically talking in the air. He's like, "Hey, I know you can hear me. I need to ask you some questions." And Scott does apologize for getting Derek arrested, but also like he kind of like, "Yeah, I got you arrested, bitch. Now help me." After, and I just want to say they got him arrested right after like Derek giving Scott this whole conversation about we brothers now and we both wolves and we part of the same fraternity and all this shit, hoorah and shit. And the nigga get him locked up. I just thought that I just want to point it out because I thought it was funny. So Scott does come to Derek, and he is asking Derek to help him. Derek basically tells Scott, "Look, I tried to be your friend the first time, tried to be your brother. You weren't trying to hear that shit, but understand that this help comes with a price. But I will tell you how to do it." So Derek explains to Scott how to hone in on his senses and his wolf-like senses, and basically like, understand what happened. It's like some kind of wolf prognication or some shit. I don't know what to fucking call it, but he is able to go to the bus, and as he's touching things, which is why I say prognication, or like being able to like touch shit and see what happened. I don't know the shit Phoebe had on Charm. Mm. But yeah, the shit Phoebe had on Charmed, he's able to go to the bus, touch the bus, see that, oh, maybe I wasn't the issue with this. And he does realize that Allison wasn't there. He was there, but he did not attack the bus driver. So Derek does help Scott, even though Scott and Styles got Derek arrested. Derek does, I mean, what Scott actually does pick up from the scene with the buses, which I guess this could be like a chemtrail situation too, just on another spectrum. What Scott does pick up is that he was there, but he tried to stop the other wolf from attacking him, from attacking the bus driver. So at this point, we know that whoever is the alpha is having Scott like come with him and try and murder with him in order to turn him into a murderer, which would basically create a pack, right? Pack mentality. So after, Scott finds all of this stuff out, he does go on the group date that he was supposed to, that he asked Melissa about the car for. And he goes on a group date, and there is Scott, which this was initially supposed to be a one-on-one with Allison and Scott. They had already set it up, but Lydia and Jackson invited themselves to their date. So yes, we have the dreaded group date. Scott, Lydia, Jackson, and Allison are all at the bowling alley because they decided to go on a bowling date. And of course, Scott told everybody at the lunch table that he's a great bowler when he is in fact a terrible fucking bowler. Which is really cool. Like, I don't know, like being able to have wolf powers but still not be able to just be good at everything is kind of like cool. Cause it's just like, yeah, you still have issues with aim and shit. Cause he is rolling nothing but fucking gutter balls. And of course, Allison is great, and Lydia is pretending to be stupid and dumb and not capable because Jackson likes that, I guess. I don't know. We never really get into the dynamic of Jackson. We do, but not like that. Not in like why this is their dynamic. But of course, Jackson, but of course, Jackson is, bowling crazy because his Jackson's aim is clearly really good because he's great at lacrosse without wolf powers. But anyway, so Allison goes to help Scott like focus and calm him down, and Allison is actually able to guide Scott into getting strikes, and we see like maybe 4 or 5 strikes in a complete row, and of course at that point we're having fun, right? There's no there's no more like, oh, we go no, we're having fun at that point because I'm winning. But of course, the girls and the guys kind of separate, and Jackson and Scott are actually on a arcade game, and it looks like they're playing pinball, maybe. And Jackson tells Scott, like, hey, I might have accepted you, and I'm here, and I'm kicking it with you, but I still know it's something fucking up with you, and I'm watching your motherfucking ass. And whatever is up with you, you don't want that little girl over there to know, and I know you don't want her to know. So you gonna fucking tell me, or I'm gonna tell her something up with you. Like Jackson is a complete asshole throughout this whole series. Well, no, that's not true. Jackson is a complete asshole throughout the first and the second seasons, I think. But like, I don't. In some places, you're like, it's understood, but in other places, you find out that like it comes from a need of not knowing who his biological parents are, being adopted at birth, and having everything given to you, but still feeling like you're not enough. And that's why Jackson excels in everything that he does, and also why he has an issue with Scott, who just seems to be like popping up out of nowhere and has not worked as hard as Jackson has, and that's basically why Jackson is hating. And we do find that out like with the parent teacher conferences. While I do think that Jackson does have a genuine reason to not like Scott or to not like the things surrounding Scott, because I don't think he actually cares about Scott as a person. But yeah, like he does have a reason, but also he's being a jackass about it. But also, I mean, I don't know, like a nigga just it's the Peter Parker thing. Like a nigga just get like super duper like jacked and like can catch shit midair and ain't never been able to do that shit, and you done known them since like elementary school. You like, nigga, what's up? Like, what's up with you? Because what I will say is that while they don't explicitly say it, they do like kind of hint towards the fact that all of them have grown up in this same neighborhood since they were kids. Like, I think Styles definitely says he's been in love with Lydia since like the second grade. And I know for sure in season 2, Jackson says he's lived across the street from the Leahys for like most of his life. So these are kids who have grown up together. So I don't think that like Scott, like Jackson just hates Scott. I just think that Jackson doesn't know Scott, but I also like has known of Scott, and it's just like, you've never been super athletic. What the fuck is up? Are you on the juice, nigga? Like, if you on the juice, give me some. Which also, why would you want that? Okay? But of course, he does want to be the best at everything he does because of his inferiority complex about being adopted. Derek goes to see the bus driver who was harmed and to basically see if he can figure out what the hell is going on, because while the police are saying that it was an animal, like animal mauling, Derek does know that that's, I mean, yeah, maybe an animal, but not really. It was probably a werewolf. But it wasn't me. It wasn't Scott. So who the fuck was it? So he goes, because he's like, there has to be another wolf. So he goes to go see Mr. Myers, and the only thing that Mr. Myers says to Derek is hell. And of course, that's their last name. So something the fuck is up. Something's up, okay? Okay. He says hell, and then he says I'm sorry a bunch of times, which we do know that like Derek's house burned down. So we do know there's something to be sorry for, but we don't know who burned his house down and why the bus driver who was seemingly mauled for no fucking reason is apologizing to Derek Hale. Mm, mm. So yeah, there's that. After the bus driver does say hell and says I'm sorry a bunch of times, he does cold and he dies. So once again, that's another life taken by this seemingly nobody knows about wolf. So yeah, there's that. So after the bus driver codes, Derek leaves and Styles goes to the McCall house. And while Styles is at the McCall house, he once again scares another McCall, which this time is not Scott, it is Melissa. And Melissa pulled a bat on him. And at this point, Styles is like, all right. Why do y'all have? But does anybody in this house play baseball? Why is there so many bats? And why are y'all always trying to beat me with a bat? Which is almost funny because if you watch the show, you know later on that is his chosen weapon of choice. But also, we actually see Scott and Styles have a conversation where Styles tells Scott that the bus driver has coded and that he's dead, and the last person, that was in there was Derek. So Scott loses it and he goes to Derek and he's just like, why would you kill him? And he basically makes up in his mind, assumes that Derek, finished the job because he still does not believe that there's a third wolf. So Scott and Derek get into it because Scott shows up to the Hell House ready to fight. And I will say that it's kind of funny because Scott gets a few good hits in on Derek. Like Derek doesn't just beat Scott's ass like Percy got his ass whooped in the finale of season 2 of Percy Jackson in the Olympics. Cause Luke whooped Percy's ass. I'm sorry, I shouldn't even be back here. But Scott does not get his ass whooped like that. Scott actually gets a few licks in on Derek, and Derek is like, oh, that's cute. And we see Derek transform. We don't actually see the graphics of him transform. We only get to see like the ending portion of him transform, but it was still cool. You see like the neck motion and shit, which is really cool. But yeah, so we have our first werewolf fight where we have the bred versus the bitten. Derek being the bred, Scott being the bitten. Really good fight. I will say that is actually not a thing. They don't make a lot of distinctions between like bred wolves and bitten wolves because usually it's not like a huge family. Like the Hells were so special because it was like a huge family, but not everyone in the Hell family was a wolf. So a lot of them were human. There are human parts of that family. So yeah, like it's very weird, not very weird, but it's very rare for a werewolf family to be that big, be that, ingrained in the society, ingrained in that society and live generations. Cause like if you look back on it, like Derek's family, the Hell family lived generations in Beacon Hills. So during this werewolf fight, we actually do see Derek and Scott get into it, but we also see Derek win. What I will say is Derek has more skill in fighting than Scott does in this initial moment, but we also see that unresolvable will to just go and like to never give up, to continue to go. And that's one of the things that we love about Scott. That's something that we fell in love with him for because he is like this, like he has this unimaginable will. Like if he was in a different world, he would be a Green Lantern because it's unbroken. Like he doesn't always have, like within the later parts of the series, he doesn't always have a plan. He doesn't always have, complete like brute. Like he can't always be a bruiser. Like Scott isn't super huge, so he's battled a few people who were like pretty big, but because he never gave up and continues to fight, also led him to be a true alpha. But we in this moment we actually see that portion of Scott. We see somebody who's not willing to just give up, roll over, and take whatever comes at him. We see somebody who's willing to fight for what's right. If Derek had actually killed the bus driver, that was wrong. It was fucked up. It was not a good thing. So Scott attacking Derek on behalf of the bus driver just shows that Scott is different. He is incredibly different. And one thing that Derek does say, which I feel like resonates throughout this whole show, is that they're predators, but they don't have to be killers. And I know that is a fucking oxymoron, but when you're talking about something that is animal and human, you understand that the humanity portion is the portion where you don't have to be a killer. But the predator portion is like, you just have those predator instincts, but you do not have to be a killer. And I love that about this show. So that actually wraps up episode 3. We are moving. So we are going into episode 4. Also, please, guys, like, subscribe, share. Make sure you are posting this wherever you can. I love to interact with people, talk about this show. I love this show and I love talking about it. So if you want to talk about it with me, get in the comments, subscribe, hit that bell so you can get all of these episodes because I am bringing them. I'm bringing them. We on episode 4, and I told you like we doing 4 batch episodes. So yes, I'm bringing them for you guys. I'm really excited. So please, please, please like, subscribe. I'm trying to get to at least 500 subscribers. I am really trying to get to at least 500 subscribers. So if each one teach one, subscribe, like all of that good stuff. I appreciate it, and we are signing off. Thank you.